Hello, coders. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, all, depending upon where you're joining us from. Welcome back to another session of CPT Guideline Mastery with AMCI. How are you all doing? So let me quickly look at the chat. Thank you, Miss Mills, for letting me know. I can see Miss Mills is there from our team. Miss Catherine is there. Miss Veena is there. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Patty. Who else are there with us today? Hi, Rita. Hi, Neom. I hope I pronounce it right. Okay. Who else are there? Okay, type in the chat. All right, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I hope you all are doing well and ready for today's topic. So, as always, the goal of these sessions is not just to review the CPT codes, it's to understand the guideline that drive the code selection. Because when you understand the guideline, answering the coding question becomes much easier, right? So whether you're preparing for the exam, auditing, or the records, medical records, or coding in a real world, it's all same, right? So today's topic is a good example of that. At first glance, these some of these codes may seem straightforward, but once we start looking at the reporting rule, the guidelines, the bundling, the documentation requirements, we will see that why understanding the guidelines is very important. So feel free to participate, answer the questions throughout the session, and think through the scenario before we start discussing the answers. So let me begin by reading out the copyright, CPT copyright 2026, American Medical Association, all right reserved. CPC is a registered trademark of AAPC. The AAPC content found within this presentation is a copyright of AAPC. The keyword concept FTR, CHON, AMCI FAP 7, AMCI ICD 10, Flip Tab, and MCG are the trademark of AMCI. The credentials CPC, CRC, COC, CPMA, CPP, CPPM, CPCO are owned by AAPC. AMCI do not own right to these credentials. The credentials CCA, CCS, CCSP, RHIA, RHIT are owned by AHIMA. AMCI do not own right to these credentials. So just before we start, coders, as always, a gentle reminder to place or to fill the survey form towards end of the session, because your feedback is incredibly important to us. It is what helps us to improve and bring you even better content each and every time. And you know what, coders? We listen to what you are requesting or what you are saying. And today's topic is one of such example. I did so one of the request from one among you on the topics which we are going to discuss today. So I thought like this is a good topic. So why not? Let's try it. So that's why I said we listen to what you have to say. So always please do fill out the survey form. It takes less than a minute and that's all we ask. All right. So today we are diving into the ECMO coding, a topic that doesn't get much attention when we study the cardiovascular section, right? But definitely it's one that's worth of understanding. Now, ECMO may look intimidating at first because of the technology involved and the way the codes are organized, but don't worry, once we break it down, you will see that the coding structure is actually very logical. And before we get started, I highly recommend you all to keep your CPT manual open throughout this session. We will be navigating the code set together and reviewing how the codes are classified and discussing the guidelines that determines the code selection. So following along in your manual will make the concept much easier to grasp and remember. Okay, so although the ECMO is a relatively small topic compared to many other cardiovascular procedure, there are several important coding guidelines and distinction that can easily become your exam question. All right, so let's take a closer look at what ECMO is and ECMO coding. Let's get started. Now, ECMO procedure codes are located in the cardiovascular system of your CPT manual, and the code series ranges from 33946 through 33989. And these codes are organized based on the phase of the ECMO support being performed. Okay, so we will discuss about them in detail in the upcoming slides. Before we get into the coding, let's start with a question. What happens when a patient's heart or lungs are so severely damaged that even a ventilator or a medications are no longer enough to keep the body supplied with oxygen? Have you thought about that? Because that's when the ECMO comes into play. All right. So ECMO stands for extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, and you can think of it like a temporary life support system that can take over the work of the heart as well as lung, sometimes together both, giving the organs chance to rest and recover. Now, who are the patients that might need the ECMO, or what are the common indications? So typically ECMO is used for the patients with severe respiratory failure, despite the mechanical ventilation, or the cases when there is a severe cardiac failure that does not respond to the medication, or the conditions where temporary support is needed while awaiting recovery or a transplantation or a long-term mechanical support. So how does an ECMO work? So there are three steps involved. Imagine the ECMO machine acting like an external lung and heart. First step will be to remove the blood from patient's body through large tubes that are called as cannula. And step two will be when the blood travels through the special device called membrane oxygenator. That is essentially an artificial lung. So here the carbon dioxide is removed and fresh oxygen is added. And then the third step, the oxygen rich blood is returned to the patient's body, ensuring that vital organs continue to receive the oxygen they need. All right. And an important point to remember is that ECMO does not cure the underlying disease. Instead, it buys valuable time by supporting the patient while the healthcare teams treat the underlying condition. Okay, now let's us use this image to understand how an ECMO work, because I love these visual images and it helps me to understand better. So you can look into the image, take a look at the diagram. If we follow the blue tubing over here, okay, I hope, yeah, over here, the blue tubing. If you follow the blue tubing first, what would you think is happening? Yes, you can see it mentioned below, right? The blue cannula labeled as inflow or drainage cannula, it actually removes the blood from patient's body. See, over here, it removes the blood from the patient body. And this blood is low in oxygen and needs support, right? So the blood is or blood then travels through the ECMO circuit. Once it gets into the blue tube, it reaches the ECMO circuit over here, and this ECMO circuit enters the pump, which act as an artificial heart. You can see over here, and moving the blood to the through the system. And next, the blood reaches the oxygenator. This would be the oxygenator. Once it reaches the oxygenator, which is often called as artificial lung, this is where the magic happens. So here the carbon dioxide is removed and fresh oxygen is added to the blood. So once the blood has been oxygenated, it will travel through the red tubing. It will go over here. You can see it travels through the red tubing and then return to the patient through outflow or return cannula. So if we summarize the entire process, you can say that blood will first leave the patient, then it will pass through the pump, Then it enters the oxygenator where the gas exchange occur, and then it returns the enriched blood with oxygen to the body. Okay, is that clear? Let me know in the chat coders if you understood this process, because in the upcoming slides we are going to break down each one of these steps and code for each one of these process. Okay, is that clear? Please do let us know in the chat. Okay, so now that we understand how the ECMO work, let us look into two main types of ECMO. So type 1 is veno arterial ECMO, or otherwise we can call them as a VA ECMO. Now think about patient whose heart is too weak to pump blood effectively, and in this situation supporting the lung alone isn't enough, so we need to help the heart as well. That's where a VA ECMO comes in. So VA ECMO provides support to the both heart as well as lung. So I have just placed a small image over here so that it will be better to understand. It will be easier to remember. So okay, so VA ECMO supports both heart as well as lungs. And here one cannula will be inserted into the large vein to drain the blood from the body, while the second cannula is inserted into the large artery to return oxygenated blood back to the body. So, okay, there you go. There is an image. So you can see one is inserted into the vein and the second one will be inserted into the artery. So from the vein, blood is withdrawn, it moves through the ECMO, and then the oxygenated blood goes back through the artery. So because the blood is returned into the artery, VA ECMO can help maintain the oxygenation as well as circulation. Now let's look into the second type of ECMO device. This is called as venous ECMO, right? So imagine patient whose lungs have failed, but the heart still continues to function normally. And in this case, we only need to support the lungs, right? Because heart is functioning, by the way, normally. So at this situation, we use the venous ECMO, and depending upon the requirements, mostly patient require one or two separate cannulas in a venous ECMO, and you can see how it looks like, right? So here blood is returned into the vein rather than an artery, so it will be returned back to a vein, and that's why a venous ECMO supports oxygenation but does not provide direct cardiac support. So that's a distinction between a VA ECMO as well as a venous or VV ECMO. Okay, so let's talk about the procedures that physicians usually perform uh, while patient is on ECMO support. So the ECMO procedures are classified into, maybe we can say, 5 different steps. The first step is called as insertion, and your CPT codes are also classified accordingly. All right. So first step would be the insertion, and this is the cannulation phase. You can call it also as a cannulation phase. And here the vascular access is obtained and ECMO cannulas are inserted into the patient. So you saw in the previous diagram, the cannulas are inserted into the veins and artery, right? So that process happens in first stage over here in the insertion stage. And the next one would be the initiation phase. So once the cannulas are in place, the ECMO system are connected and started. Then we have the third one, which is called as a daily management. So here the ongoing critical care phase while ECMO is running. So we'll look after maybe the patient as well as the ECMO circuit. And fourth step is repositioning or adjusting the hardware. So any adjustment to the cannula or circuit hardware after the initiation are coded from here. Finally, we have the removal or decannulation or weaning. This is the final phase when the ECMO is no longer required, the weaning from the ECMO support. happens here. All right. It also includes removal of the cannulas, the closure, management of the access site, etc. So these are 5 steps in the ECMO working. And next, we are going to look into the CPT codes on each of these 5 sections and also the guidelines associated with it. All right. So before we can circulate the blood through the ECMO circuit, we need to place a cannula, right? The cannula should be placed into the vein, and that happens in the first phase, that is known as cannula phase or insertion phase. So this is a foundation step where life support truly start. And when you look into the CPT codes in the cannula phase or insertion phase, you should ask 2 questions first. First one is, how old is a patient? And second question is, what type of insertion approach was used? And if you can answer those 2 questions, you are already halfway to the correct code, because CPT codes are divided in this section based on the age as well as the approach. So age is actually classified into two. One is birth through 5 years. The second one is 6 years and older. And approach, there are 3 possible approaches for the insertion procedures. First one is a percutaneous approach. You can see first one, percutaneous approach. And this is the least invasive method when a needle puncture is used and the access to the vessel is followed by cannula placement. So that's percutaneous. Next one, you have the open approach, right? So under the percutaneous itself, you can see the insertion code 33951 for the patients from birth till the age 6, and then 6 years and older, you can see the CPT code 33952. So that's how the insertion codes are classified. And next we have the open approach. And here in the open approach, surgeon will perform a surgical exposure of the vessel before inserting the cannula. Similarly, these are also classified into two based on the age. You have 33953 and CPT code 33954. And the third step is central approach, or this is the most invasive approach, I would say, typically performed through a sternotomy or a thoracotomy. So as the term itself, you can understand that this is the most invasive, and this will provide direct access to the heart and the great vessels. Again, these codes are classified into two, 33955 and 33956 based on the age. Now, an important coding guideline you have to remember here is that in some of these codes, fluoroscopic guidance are included. So you can understand them from the code language itself. So make sure you are not going to code the fluoroscopic guidance with such codes. Okay, so you can make a note of that. And we also have some add-on codes that can be used along with the insertion codes. There are 33987 and 33988, so you can use them accordingly. Next, let's move on to the second phase, that is circuit or not circuit, the initiation phase. Now that patient is connected to the ECMO, it is time to move to the next critical stage, the most or I would say this is when ECMO support actually starts. So once the cannula are in place, we cannot simply turn on the machine and walk away just like that. Absolutely not. So the physician must carefully configure and initiate the ECMO circuit before support can begin safely. So during this initiation phase, physician will perform a number of duties. One, he may determine the appropriate circuit components. He will establish the flow rates. He have to check the gas exchange parameters, oxygen delivery configuration, adjust the sweep gas setting, establish the initial ECMO circuit, and so and so. So he has to do a lot of job before actually the initiation happens, right? And in other words, physician has to customize the ECMO system specifically for that particular patient. And the code selection here depends upon the type of ECMO support being initiated. So previously I said that there are two types of ECMO. One is VA ECMO and the other one is VV ECMO, right? So for the VV ECMO, you will use 33946 as an initiation code. And for the VA ECMO, you would use 33947 as an initiation code. Now there are three guidelines that you have to remember from the initiation part. First one, do not report the modifier 63 with the initiation codes. Second one, do not report the daily management codes, which we will learn in the upcoming slides. Also, do not report the reposition codes along with the initiation codes. So these are don't code, and you can again churn them in your CPT manual. So we are moving on to the next stage, the phase 3, which is daily circuit management. So the insertion is complete, the activation or initiation is complete. Now it's about managing, right? How to manage the ECMO device and how to manage the patient as well. So here is where coders often get confused. Why? Because during the ECMO support, there are actually two different things that are managed every day. One is the patient. Second is the ECMO device, right? The ECMO circuit. So you have to manage the patient as well as the ECMO circuit. So understanding the difference between these two is key to accurate coding. And before we go any further, I want everyone to remember one sentence. Separate the patient management from the circuit management. All right. So first, let's talk about the daily overall patient management. You can see those note on the left hand side, and this includes everyday physician evaluation such as the vital signs, the organ function, the response to the treatment. The patient must be in an ECMO for a reason, right? Or there should be an underlying condition why the patient is in ECMO. So that underlying condition requires management or attention or treatment. So all those management are classified under the daily patient management section, right? And then we also have to manage the ECMO circuit. That's a device, right? So that machine or that circuit also require management. So the physician must over here should continuously see how the blood flow rates are, how the oxygenation setting are, how is the gas exchange functioning. All those sorry, all those should be separately managed, and they come under ECMO circuit management section. So it's important you understand the differentiation between these two management, and overall patient management should be coded using appropriate ENM codes. You can use inpatient or observation ENM code, critical care ENM codes as appropriate. And the ECMO circuit management codes are coded using these two codes. One is 33948 and 33949. So 33948 is used for daily management of a VV ECMO device or ECMO settings. And 33949 is used for a daily management of a VA ECMO. So they are, again, these codes are classified based on type of the ECMO device used. Okay. Is that clear so far, coders? I don't see too much people in the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Let's make this an interactive session. Okay. So that's one way to remember the guidelines. Keep interacting with us in the chat. Keep talking to your peers. Okay. Let me know in the chat. Is that clear so far? So we have completed the insertion part. We have completed the initiation part. We completed the management. We got two more steps to go. All right. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Great. Great that you understand so far. And here also with the management, there is a guideline you have to keep a note on that states that do not report modify 63 in conjunction with those management codes. All right, so make sure you note that in your CPT manual. We are moving on to the phase 4, which is repositioning of the cannula. So by this point, the ECMO in the ECMO journey, the cannulas have been inserted, circuit has been initiated, daily management is on is underway. But what happens if the cannula shift the position? What if the blood flow becomes suboptimal, or if the imaging show that cannula tip is no longer in the ideal location? So that's where we enter the phase 4, that is called as repositioning of the cannula. So in this phase, it is all about adjusting the existing cannula to restore the ECMO's optimal performance, right? So just like insertion, repositioning codes are also classified based on two parameters. One is patient's age, and a second one is the repositioning approach. So similar to the insertion, we have three approach: percutaneous, open, and central. And age also is in a similar classification category. We have codes for from the birth through 5 years, and the codes for from 6 years onwards and older. Okay, so that's how the repositioning codes are also classified. Okay, and there is a guideline which you all have to make a note in the repositioning section. So at first glance, repositioning or replacing or moving a cannula may sound straightforward, but from a coding perspective, one small detail changes everything. And what is that? The question: is the cannula staying in the same vessel or moving to a different vessel? That single question determines how the procedures are reported. So if the physician removes a cannula and inserts a new cannula, but both the procedure occur in the same vessel. You can see in the left hand side the image over here, the replacement of the cannula is removed and inserted in the same vessel. In such cases, we don't report the removal code, and we don't report the repositioning code. Instead, here we will report only the insertion code. All right, and yes, now let's look in the image at the right side. And this time, if the cannula is removed from vessel A, you can see from vessel A it's removed. And in the vessel B, we are placing a completely, or in the vessel B, we are placing that cannula. So here, it's a different coding situation. So when the cannula is removed from one vessel and placed into different vessel, you report the cannula removal code as well as insertion code. But if it's on the same vessel, you will code only the insertion code. So please do make a note of this one. This is a very important guideline. Now we are moving on to the final phase, right? The removal and decannulation phase. So this phase represents major milestone in the patient's recovery, because removal only occurs when the patient heart, lungs, or both have recovered enough, right? That ECMO support is no longer needed. So just like the insertion codes, the removal codes are also classified based on age and the approach. So you have codes from birth through 5 years and 6 years and older. And the approach are also same. Percutaneous, you have open, you have a central. Right, so that's how the removal codes are classified. Okay, now we have completed the 5 phases of ECMO coding. Let's talk about something that makes ECMO a unique procedure compared to many other procedures. So ECMO is rarely a one physician service. In fact, ECMO often requires entire team working together around the clock to keep the patient alive. It's a very complex procedure, right? So, depending upon the patient's condition, team may include a cardiac surgeon, intensive intensive care specialist, pulmonologist, cardiologist, or even neonatologist, because neonatologist is required for the patients who's very or younger than 5 years, right? So each team member plays a unique role in keeping both patient and the ECMO circuit functioning safe. So let's take an example over here. We have a physician A who's a cardiac thoracic surgeon, and this physician inserts a cannula, establishes the vascular access, and initiates ECMO support. So when coding for the physician A, the surgeon may report cannula insertion codes, he may report the initiation codes, because these are the services the surgeon perform, right? So he can report these service. And if in the next day another physician, or let it be an intensivist or a pulmonologist, gets involved, and he manages the blood flow parameters, monitoring anticoagulation, evaluates all the alarms, assess the oxygen, optimizes the ECMO circuit. In such cases, physician B can report the daily ECMO management codes along with the ENM service, because he's managing both the ECMO device and he's also taking care of the overall patient's condition other than the ECMO circuit or as well. So he can report both also. So this is the most important rule to remember. Each physician reports only the service they personally perform. Okay. All right. Now, these are again some of the guidelines which you should remember. With the initiation code, you will not be reporting the daily management and the repositioning performed on the same day. You will only report the initiation codes. And with the insertion codes, you cannot report the repositioning and replacement. You will only report the insertion procedure. Finally, 63 modifiers you should not apply with initiation and daily management services. Okay, so these are some of the guidelines. And before we move on to the scenarios, I would like to show you how the codes are really classified in the CPT manual. I've done a small little bit of churning so that you can understand. You can see you have okay, I'm back. Coda, sorry. So the technical glitch. So I will share my screen. Please do let me know that if you can hear me. Please do let me know as if the audio is back or not. Okay, I will just wait. All right, thank you for letting me know. So apologies for that technical glitch, and this is what we were talking about, how the codes are classified in your CPT manual, right? So you can see you have 33946 to 33947, which is coding for the initiation process, and initiation codes are classified based on the type of the ECMO use. So I have just highlighted one for the veno venous, the other for the veno atrial ECMO initiation. Then we have the management codes. Management codes, you have two of them, 33948, 33949. Once again, they are also classified based on the type of the ECMO used. And then we have insertion codes. So there are a few insertion codes from 33951 to 33956. If you remember, I told you these are classified based on the age as well as approach, right? So for the percutaneous, you have two codes, one for patients from birth through 5 years of age, then the other one is 6 years and older. Again, we have codes for the open approach, same, classified based on the age as well. Then we have codes for the central procedure or central cannula procedures, which is sternotomy or thoracotomy. They are classified also based on the patient's age. After the insertion codes, you have the repositioning codes, and repositioning codes are again in turn classified based on the age and the approach. Finally, you have your removal codes, which is also classified based on the age and the approach. Okay, so it is as simple as that. So you can churn your manual so that you won't get confused on what's an initiation page, initiation, management, insertion, preposition, or removal. So if you don't know what churn is, you will get to know if you can join. If someone can place our Facebook churn page, you can join our Facebook churn page, and you can see how the other peers have churn their manual. You can take references from them and churn your manual as well. So we say churn is life. Okay. All right. So let's move on. And again, there is one more image or diagram in your CPT manual. You can also use this manual or this diagram to select the correct CPT codes. You can see your initiation codes. You can easily select the codes using the flow chart, right? You have the management codes, you have the decannulation, and you have the add-on codes as well. So please feel free to go through these diagrams. And now I think it's time for some coding exercise. So these are pretty much straightforward. We will straightforward and we will directly look into the guidelines based scenario, and you can answer them pretty quickly. Okay, here we go. The first question, you don't need, I'm pretty sure you don't won't need 2.5 minutes to solve this one. So I'm just starting the timer now. Okay, of the following answers, which code is used for the physician initiation of ECMO circuit? Option A 33946, option B 33947, C 33948, D 33949. A 4-year-old patient requires a lung support only due to severe respiratory distress. Physician places single cannula in the vein and initiates extracorporeal circuit. Of the following answers, which best describe physician's initiation ECMO circuit? There you go. That's what I was talking about. Answers are already in the chat. Wonderful. All right, that is time. And how are you all doing? Let me look into the chat. Anyone else to place the answer? Go ahead, give your best answer. Don't worry whether it's wrong or not. All right. So if it's logged out, you can just refresh and you can see and let us know if it helps. All right, I'm just going through the comments. We are currently not offering the CEOs, but yeah, you can stay tuned in case if we do have any other programs. Okay. All right. Okay, coders. So let's go ahead and let's solve this one. You all did a fabulous job. Here, the physician placed a single cannula in a vein and initiated the extracorporeal circuit, right? So we are coding for the physician's initiation code, and you have your all CPT codes in this slide itself. You have to only just look at it and pick one. So option C and option D are coding for daily management service. We are not looking at the management service, we are looking at the physician initiation service, right? So 33948 and 33949 both are incorrect. Now let's look into the remaining options. We have option A and B. Both are coding for the initiation codes. You have 33946, that is for ECMO initiation venous, and the other one is for ECMO initiation arterial. And if you remember, I said there are two types of ECMO device, venous and arterial artery or arterial. And how you differentiate it? We know arterial only supports both heart and lungs, while we know venous only supports the lungs, right? And in this scenario, patient had only severe respiratory distress, and you can see single cannula was placed at the vein. And yes, that was one of the cannula placement requirement for venous system. It places one or two cannulas only into the veins, not into the arteries. So that was your keyword, and I am so proud you all got that. Yes, option A is the correct answer. 33. There you go. Yes, you are right. 33946 is the right answer. Fabulous job, Coda. So let's move on to the next one. I've got few questions for you all. So keep answering quickly, so we'll cover all of these questions. How should the surgeon circuit related service be coded for Tuesday? Option A, 33947 33949. B, 33947 33949. D, 33947 99213 A cardiothoracic surgeon initiates veno-arterial or VA ECMO for the patient on Tuesday morning to support both heart and lungs. The surgeon manages the ECMO circuit parameters for remainder of the Tuesday. How should the surgeon circuit related services be coded for Tuesday? And coded, your time begins now. So to apply the guidelines, before these might look very easy and straightforward, as I said in the beginning, but you have always to refer the guidelines which we have learned. Okay, place your best answers in the chat. All right, that is time. And I can see some mixed answers in the chat. Anyone else to place your answer? Give it a try, coders. Go ahead. I will give you a couple more seconds. Please go ahead and place your best answers. All right, so let me start solving this. And we have here a cardiothoracic surgeon who initiates a veno-arterial ECMO device, and it was done on the Tuesday morning. And the surgeon manages the ECMO circuit parameters as well, right? And that means it he initiates as well as does the management of the ECMO. Now, option D 33947 is incorrect because I see there is an ENM code 99231. That is an ENM code, right? And if you remember, we learned that ENM codes are assigned only when the physician or the treating physician looks after overall patient healthcare other than the ECMO circuit management. And in this scenario, the surgeon actually done the initiation and he managed the ECMO circuit. So you should not assign a 99231 ENM code along with this service or for this procedure. And the CPT code 99397 99 sorry 33947, that is a good code. It is coding for ECMO initiation veno arterial. That's what happened here. And then we have 33949, which is for daily management. And yes, a daily management was also performed in this scenario. But you know what, coders, there's a guideline attached to this one, right? Yes, the guidelines, the one which I showed towards the end of the lecturing part, ECMO daily management and repositioning may not be reported on the same day as initiation services by same or different individual. So if a daily management and ECMO repositioning services are done on the same day as initiation, you will only code for the initiation code. And that's why option C is incorrect. Option A is incorrect. Option A is coding for both initiation and management. The correct answer would be option B, 33947. I can see few of you have already selected option B, but let me know if you had an aha moment or not. Because if you had an aha moment, that is priceless. So, applause for everyone who tried to solve this one. Okay, not to one who got correct, to everyone. This applause was for everyone. So keep placing your answers in and let's have some aha moment coming. Okay, next one, quotas. How should this repositioning service be reported? Option A 33958770002. Option B 33958. Option C 33952. Option D 33958 and 33946. A physician uses fluoroscopic guidance to the repositioning of a percutaneous peripheral venous ECMO cannula in a 7-year-old patient. How should this repositioning services be reported? Coders, place your answers in the chat. Okay, I can see only one alphabet or one CPT code in the chat. Excellent job. And I think that's correct. You all are correct. We have a patient who used the fluoroscopic guidance to the repositioning, right? So it's a repositioning what happened here. And let's look into the CPT code. We have only one CPT code 33. We have CPT code 33, let's say 33952, which is coding for insertion of peripheral arterial or venous cannula percutaneous 6 years or old, right? Okay, so I would say this would be a wrong one because we are only looking at insertion of a peripheral venous ECMO, not a arterial venous ECMO. So that's why I would say option C would be incorrect. Next one, we are looking at, okay, sorry, option, by the way, option C is also incorrect because that's coding for an insertion procedure. We are looking at a reposition procedure, so totally different procedure. Now option 33958 is for repositioning of a peripheral arterial or venous and or venous cannula percutaneous 6 years and older. So it looks like a good code. And if you look at option D, it's also coding for 33946. That is for extracorporeal or ECMO initiation. I think it's, yeah, it's an initiation vena vena. So did we have an initiation? No, we had only had a reposition. So we are just left with option A and option B. And option A is coding for a fluoroscopic guidance. And if you remember, the guidelines said that the fluoroscopic guidance is included into those cannula repositioning code. And it's also clear from the guideline or from the code language. Over here it's documented that it includes a fluoroscopic guidance when performed, right? So no need to code for another CPT for fluoroscopic guidance, and that makes option B the right answer. Okay, kudos, great. Everyone went with option B. Fantastic. Okay, kudos. Let's move on to the next one. We have few more. Let's try to complete at least two more questions here. Next one. How should the physician report the surgical session? Option A, 33955. Option B, 33955. 33963, 339, option C 33953, option D 33955, and 33963 with the 59 modifier. During the procedure, physician inserts a central cannula via sternotomy in a 2-year-old patient for ECMO support. Before concluding the operation, physician repositions the newly placed cannula to optimize blood flow. How should physician report this surgical session? And coders, your time begins now. All right, Codus, that's time, and I see that you all are still thinking. mm, okay, give your best answers, and let's solve this one together. Go ahead, place your best answers in. Okay, let's see if it is correct or not. If it's wrong, no worries. We will learn something new. If it's right, that's absolutely great. Okay, so here we have physician who inserts a central cannula via sternotomy for a 2-year-old patient. Good. And physician repositions the newly placed cannula, and it happens before concluding the operative session, right? So it happens in the same operative session. So actually he performs two procedure. One is the insertion of the cannula and the other one is reposition. So 33953 is incorrect because it's coding for insertion of a peripheral uh, arterial or venous cannula open. We had a sternotomy approach here, not an open approach. So that's why I would say option 33953 is incorrect. Now, all the other options have CPT code 33955, and 33955 is for insertion of a central cannula by sternotomy or thoracotomy. ECMO, I'm not reading the, apologies because I'm not reading the parent code over here. So it's for ECMO support provided by physician, insertion of central cannula by sternotomy or thoracotomy. So that's exact approach which was used here, the sternotomy approach. So it's a good CPT code. And then we have 33963, which is coding for reposition of central cannula by sternotomy or thoracotomy. Now, should we code these two together or not is the question, right? Okay, so someone is asking, can we zoom in? So I think you are in a mobile. Are you using the mobile version? So if you're using the mobile version of the stream, you can switch on to the desktop, and I hope that will help. Okay, so okay, so let's have a look into the guideline. Can we code the insertion and repositioning together on the same session? And the guideline says that repositioning of the ECMO at the same session as insertion is not separately reportable. So you can only code for the insertion. You cannot code for the repositioning, making option A 33955 the correct answer. Okay. All right. I'm sorry if it's still not visible. I will try to make it much larger. Let me see if I can zoom in. I'm sorry, I'm unable to zoom in more than this. All right. So how did you all do, Codis? How did you all do? I see that you all did a fantastic job. So let's do one more scenario. Let's do one last scenario. I did have few more scenarios left for you, but we'll wind up after this one. So all of us, you all been doing a fabulous job so far. How should Wednesday's procedure be reported? Option A 33985, 33955, option B 33955, option C 33963, option D 33985. A 5-year-old patient currently on VA ECMO. On Wednesday, physician determines that central cannula needs to be replaced due to a defect. Physician completely remove the central cannula via sternotomy and place a new central cannula into the same vessel. How should the Wednesday's procedure be reported? And Codus, your time begins now. All right, that's almost time. And okay, you can see the answers. The guidelines going to play a big role for selecting the correct answer for this scenario coders. So if you want to change, I will give you some more time. Okay, go ahead, have a second look into it. And that is time. So to see some changes in the answers as well. Good one. This is going to be a good scenario. So again, as I said, this is a guideline, purely guideline. That's why I, in the beginning itself, I said these ECMO procedures coding are looks straightforward most of the time, but there are some guidelines that you must remember. Chun your manual, chun those guidelines, and you won't get it wrong. So it's easy scoring area. Let's have a look into the codes. 33963, that is coding for a reposition of a central cannula by sternotomy or thoracotomy, right? So what did we have here? We have a physician who determines that central cannula need to be replaced, and it's due to a defect, and the physician completely remove, and then he inserts into he places into a new, he places a new central cannula into the same vessel. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, so here the 33963 is coding for just a repositioning of the cannula, and that's not exactly what we are looking at. Okay, it's not just the repositioning that was done. It's there has been a cannula which is removed, and it has been placed into the, a new cannula has been placed into the same vessel. So 33985 is coding for removal of a central cannula by sternotomy procedure. All right, so this is looking good. Birth through 5 years of age, and patient's age is just 5, so that's also a good one. Okay, so let's look in the next one. We have 33955, which is coding for extracorporeal oxygenation support provided by physician, insertion of a central cannula by sternotomy or thoracotomy, birth through 5 years of age. Okay, so 33955 is coding for insertion, while 33985 is coding for removal. Now you might look into the question and say, well, that's what happened, right? The physician removed the central cannula and he placed a new cannula. But the key word here is same vessel. Okay? Because if you remember the guideline, replacement of echo or ECLS cannula in the same vessel should be only reported using insertion code. And if the cannula is removed from one vessel and new cannula are placed into a different vessel, that is when you will report removal and the insertion code. So over here, the cannula was removed from the same vessel and new cannula was inserted into the same vessel, or both happen in a one single vessel, not a two different vessel. So we can only code for the insertion code, and that makes option B the correct one. There you go. I can see a few B right now in the chat. How are you all doing, coders? Type in the chat. Are these guidelines now much more easier? Are you able to understand them? Okay, and let us know, how did you do today? Did the session help you feel more confident about the ECMO procedures and the guidelines? I believe so, because I can see that from the way you all were answering in the chat. And coders, if you think you need some more practice, that's totally fine. You can find all our CPT guideline mastery session in the AMCI YouTube channel. You can go to the playlist and you will find CPT guideline mastery, and you will find all the videos under this series uh, inside this playlist. Okay, and this one will be also moved to that playlist, so you can find them inside it. And finally, coders, don't forget, this is a humble request from us to you. Don't forget to fill that survey form. I've shared that in the chat multiple times. So let us know which topics also you would like to hear or listen from us in the upcoming session or next Friday. Next Friday, we are going to look at the digestive system, hopefully the male female urinary or genitourinary system as well, so you can pick one topic that we haven't covered yet. Okay, so let us know. As I pick this topic from your recommendation, I will also have a look into your recommendation this week and probably pick one of those topics that we haven't covered yet. So please do share your feedback. That is extremely important for us, because only when you share it with us we are able to come back with new sessions. Only if it is helpful we are going to continue this series, right? If it's not helping you, then we might probably stop it. So please do let us know how we are doing and if it's helping you or not. Please do take a moment. It's just take you a minute. That's all we ask. And with that, we come to a conclusion. If you enjoyed our video, smash that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see it. And I want to thank my team here, Miss Mills. Thank you, Miss Mills, for the support. Thank you, Miss Catherine. We have Miss Lena as well from our team. Okay, so I know Miss Linda is here, a lot of familiar names. And thank you for new subscribers to our channel as well. All right, so next Friday we will come up with a new topic. Please do let us know what your thoughts are. And till then, stay safe, keep coding, and I wish you all a happy weekend. See you all next Friday, coders. Goodbye and take care.
4,000 exam passers and free classes at AMCI. Learn to coach straight from home or on the road at